Hey, RetconRaider here. Today's video is dedicated to Laura and Mike. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, let's get started. After a daring raid into the lands of the wild centaurs, Baron Varn and his companions returned home, and I, Willis Gunderson, had the honor of accompanying them. A time of peace has come at last. Varnhold greets one serene dawn after another. But in this dark land, I dread to think what awaits us. As Curie approaches Varn, a wince crosses her grim face, but she speaks not a word, and instead hands him a document.
Aha! I see you've included everything, just as I asked. Thank you, Kiadi.
Magar glances over the document, and his face brightens.
Magar, what does this mean? Tell me, what am I to make of this?
Cephal snatches the document from Varn's hands. As he reads it, the old wizard's eyes nearly pop out of his head.
I sent some much-needed aid to our neighbors in the Shrike Hills. They're our only possible allies in the coming carnage. Cephal, I know your opinion, but be realistic. The Aldori are not our friends. We can't count on them for help if something happens. We're expendable.
You will not preach realism to me, you naive boy. Yes, we are bargaining chips to them. That is exactly what I'm basing my politics on. A delicate contraption which you are smashing to bits. War will come to Brevoy, even you can see that. But as long as it hasn't yet begun, you can scarcely do better than pretending to be the Eldori's most loyal vassals.
You're both wrong. The Eldori are noble. An alliance with them would ensure our common prosperity.
They are noble, it's true. But it's the nobility of Brevoy's aristocracy. Whether they're Issian or Rostlandic, they don't welcome outsiders into their fold. I'm sorry to shatter your dreams of triumphant Aldori knights, my friend. But take this for a fact. Our lives are nothing to them.
Well said, Magar. But if you understand this, then why not take the next logical step? Listen to me carefully, you three. Yes, Harry, this involves you too. Things are looking bad. First, the land here is fertile, but its most bountiful crop is Cyclopes' graves. Second, it shares a border with the Obaria, well known for its epidemics. Gods forbid the wind carries the next plague here. Settlers are reluctant to come here as it is. I can scarcely blame them. Do not become too attached to Varnhold. This is but a stepping stone. Our real prize lies to the west. But what does Varn do? He sends them gifts. Better to send them assassins. Without their baron, the Shrike Hills would descend into a struggle for power, and Silverstep and the Canelands would fall to us soon after.
Such villainy!
Do not interrupt your regent, Varn, or relieve me of the position this instant. Now, what is the most important thing here? The Aldori are afraid of unleashing war. They know that if they tried to separate from Brevoy without some kind of outside support, the Sertova would crush them. So we must convince them that we are their most loyal allies. We will stoke the Aldori into an uprising. When the unrest picks up, we shall strike them in the back and make them fight on two fronts. While you, Your Grace, were drinking wine at the feast, I was busy acquiring a map of Nivotka's Crossing. Look at these fortifications. If we could seize this town, we'd win a significant piece of Brevik land along with it. After we've assisted the Sertova in hanging the Aldori on the gates, they would allow us to keep part of what we have seized as reward. Then we will have peace and prosperity.
Get out of my sight, Cephal. Get out! Never would the name of Magar Varn be tarred with such abominable villainy. It never happened while I was leader of a mercenary party and won't happen now that I'm Baron.
Great Asmodeus, what did I do to deserve this punishment? Why do I deal with you at all? I should have taken my share and retired a long time ago. I'll be off somewhere soon enough, to Absalom or Cheliax. I shall read books on the porch and drink wine, while you do whatever you want. Burn the city down and get yourself killed. Come to me later. We need to talk.
As the old wizard storms off in a rage, you hear a magical whisper.
I can't believe my ears. Must the history of our country begin with such villainy? Oh, Cephal. Cephal. Well. Let the old devil cool off. I'll talk to him later. Is that all, Kiadi?
The dwarf shrugs and hands him another paper.
I see. So, we've got a revolutionary from Galt on our hands. A tavern keeper writes us. She saw the revolutionary walking around, stirring up the people for an uprising. Well, you're the general. You go and deal with it. Talk to the tavern keeper. Find out where to look for this instigator. Well, far be it from me to teach you how to do your job. When you finish, report back to me. By the gods, what a worry. Uprisings, intrigues, these damn letters. That Gunderson and his bracelet. And the Baron has to see to all of that, and listen to everyone's complaints while he's at it. What a nuisance.
Magar leaves in a cloud of curses. And welcome back to Varnhold's Lot. It's been a while, but I think these guys have actually done a pretty good job of recapping things for us. That said, let's move on to the next step in our journey. Of cows and other matters of political importance. Gunderson might be a pretty transparent con artist, but at least he's got a nice flair for the dramatics. Alright, let's catch up with Magar and Cephal. Then we'll head out to talk to the tavern keeper. So, did you handle those troublemakers? On top of everything else, an uprising is just what we need. After that quarrel with Cephal, you mentioned some letters that gave you a headache. You mind if I ask what that's about? I received a letter with some threats. You do know how letters with threats make me laugh. Ha, ha, ha. Magar doesn't laugh, but sullenly articulates each ha, emphasizing his dark mood. As if this whole government headache wasn't enough, now there's another contender from Brevoy, scheming for their own piece of the pie. I wonder why he dislikes the alliance between Varnhold and the barony of Shrike Hills. Here, read it if you'd like. A letter with threats. Baron Magar Varn, I am writing to you as your ally and well-wisher. The reason for my letter is the lack of foresight in your actions. You're trying so hard to become friends with the ruler of the Shrike Hills barony. You invite your neighbor to pay you a visit, you even send rich gifts. Have you nothing more to do in your lands? I strongly recommend you to stop flirting with this upstart person and turn your gaze to the affairs of the day. You are trying to cross the path with powerful forces that can reach you even in your own castle. You should know your place. With wishes of good health and calm sleep, your friend. If I didn't know any better, I'd say Cephal actually wrote that, but I guess we'll find out. I'm not certain of the author, but I can make a guess. A few years ago, the mother of this little rat hired us to find him, remember? From the moment we met him, I wanted to tie him to a tree in the forest and leave overnight just to teach him a lesson. If he wasn't heir to one of the great houses of Brevoy, I would have done just that. Maybe something good would have come of the little rat. If I had to guess, I'd say that's Lander Levita. We met him briefly at Silverleaf's coronation. What can you say of Willis Gunderson? What does your mercenary gut tell you? Gunderson himself doesn't bother me. It can't hurt to have him in the barony. We still don't have much entertainment here, and that lad is a free circus show for anyone who cares to watch. But that bracelet... You know, I sent scouts to retrace Gunderson's steps, and they couldn't find any sign of him. That's one hell of a location. Hills, mountains, gorges, and 1,000 caves. If he lied about where he found it, we'll be looking for its true origin for years, and I don't like it. And I know about a dozen unhappy stories that begin with, "An unknown ancient relic suddenly appeared." That's why I'm writing our western neighbor in the Shrike Hills. Maybe they have a good sorcerer or a historian who can help us puzzle out what this bracelet is. I have to go. Things to do. So long, my friend. Come back soon, either on business or just to chat over a cup of wine. That's why I like Magar. He gets me. But I guess we've got to deal with Cephal, too. Oh, that Magar. I am so angry with him. Why do I still bother? I should have left the party after that idiocy in Ustalov, or at least after the debacle in Mivon. If I had any sense, I would have never gotten involved at all. What do you think about this Gunderson? I cannot see any point in keeping that loafer at the capital. To hear him singing about his questionable feats at the tavern and flirting with anything that moves, people like him can be helpful, out there in the ruins, where they crawl around discovering interesting facts and useful items. I would give him a half-empty purse, perhaps even a bit of magical gear, and send him back out on the road. If fortune favored him, he might return with something interesting. If not, then good riddance. And that bracelet he scrounged up is, in fact, quite interesting itself. It is not magical, no, but it may point to an ancient Cyclops treasure, and riches worth far more than gold. I would like to show it to a knowledgeable historian, but where are we to find one in this backwater? You wanted to talk about something. Yes, that puffed-up fool Varn is destroying the barony faster than we can build it. An alliance with our western neighbor is madness, and now he is sending them gifts. He takes resources we work so hard to obtain, and which are so scarce around here, and gives them away freely to our principal adversary. You have your own take on everything, and maybe you can see something that I am missing. Maybe it really is better that I retire. Why should I stand watch as everything I have built these many years crumbles to ruin? I know not what to do with him, or even how to talk to him. Tell me, what do you think of all this madness? Well, I'm definitely not siding with Cephal here. You say that Magar is reckless, but in fact, you're the one dragging us into a dangerous venture. You and Magar suffer under the same blissful illusion. You imagine that silly old Cephal is plotting some schemes, while you long to live simply and honestly, just like when we were a mercenary army. Well, you can put that out of your mind. Those days are long gone. State policy is a world of intrigue, and you are in this world now whether you like it or not. From the day that Varn received his title, there would never be anything simple, clear, or honest in our lives again. I think we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on Cephal here. I have to go. Yes, you and I are both busy people now. What a joke, to be advisors to a baron who is doing everything in his power to destroy his own state. Okay, I think that gets us caught up with the current affairs, so we're just about ready to continue our adventure. It has been a while since our last episode, though, so let's hit the pause button real quick. I need to refamiliarize myself with our character sheets and inventory loadouts. Oh, and I'll take care of our inventory management, too. We do still have a lot of loot from the City of Hollow Eyes. Anyway, we'll be right back. And we are back. I've refamiliarized myself with our party, I've taken care of our inventory, and I even picked up a headband of inspired wisdom for Brother Olaf. Now, we just need to have a chat with the local tavern keeper, and look into that scoundrel, Willis Gunderson. Oh, this guy's new. Let's see what he has to say. The bard stands before you, looking rather bizarre. He clearly inherited his waistcoat, which was once expensive, but is now worn and tattered, covered in motley patches, and embroidered with skulls. The musician's face is covered with white powder, and his eyes and cheekbones accented with black. So long as my song is not getting old, I'll sing of the fool, humble but bold. You there, General, a coin for the minstrel. Here you are. Thank you, Your Highness. I swear I'll spend it all in here, and it's enough to last a year. Who are you? A raucous rascal of no small fame. The Zombie Jester is my name. Ha ha ha! You don't look like a zombie. For now, it seems I'm still alive, but Caden only knows what will happen tomorrow. I was given this name for my songs. Other bards sing of heroes and romance, flowers and other such rot. My songs are. The bard strikes a low and dissonant chord on his lute. Far more interesting. Now I'm writing a new song. It's about an inn where today's travelers are fed meat carved from yesterday's travelers. Ha ha! By the way, it's not just a tale, it's the truth. I've been there, tasted their human meat pies myself, and barely escaped with my skin. Where did you find an inn like this? At Blackstone Ford. If you don't believe me, go there yourself, and look what they have in their pots. What are you singing about? Of horrors and miracles, of demons and the dead. I'll sing you to sleep, and you'll wet your bed. Here in the Stolen Lands, there are horrors everywhere, enough for a new song every day. Well then. I've been to the Shrike Hills, and returned with a dozen new songs. Songs of the insane Stag Lord, of evil fey pranks and trollish feasts, werewolves and lake dragons and spider dances, and now I'm here to write one about a cyclops. Stag Lords. What a ridiculous fairy tale. I have to go. Good riddance. Don't let the skeleton cyclops bite your heels. What a strange way to ask for repeat business. Oh, alright. Looks like we actually have to report this to the Baron. Well, for now, on to the next con man. Dressed in clean clothes, shiny boots, and in full accessory, Willis Gunderson looks even more jovial than he did when you met him on the road. Ah, there you are, my lord. What a pleasure it is to see you again. Tell me about yourself. Oh, I'm quite a boring person, believe me. Willis's tone makes it clear that he's joking. Boredom has led me to learn a dozen ancient languages, decipher a trove of ancient manuscripts and chronicles, and riddle out the locations they mention, and the relics hidden there. In between these rather boring tasks, I've written a few brilliant novels and a dozen poems. Indeed, I had to flee to this backwater from my admirers and fans. I do hope no one here knows the name of Willis Gunderson, or I shall have to flee again. Fame, I'm afraid, is the most boring thing in the world. Yeah, I'll bet. So, what brings a scientist, traveler, and researcher of antiquities to our savage lands? I was led here by some information I discovered while translating the writings on an ancient stone panel. Willis's eyes burned with excitement. It was a heavy granite slab the size of a door, but mere pocket notebook for the ones who made their marks on it. Ha-ha! Ancient Cyclopes. It was they who wrote those inscriptions on the slab. Ancient Cyclopes, unlike today's poor savages, were darkly clever. They maintained their brilliant civilization through dreadful magic. You called that huge slab a Cyclops notebook. Perhaps your bracelet is not a bracelet at all. But how did I not think of that? Willis's eyes open wide. Of course, if you consider the Cyclope's size, this is rather a ring. An explorer must remain impartial, but to be perfectly honest, everything about those Cyclopes repulses me. They were no kind spirits, even while they lived. We're lucky not to have lived in the time of their empires. And what was written on the slab? Nothing terribly significant. It described Cyclops settlements across the Tors of Lebanese, and mentioned that incredible magic treasure had been stored here in the past. But that was thousands of years ago. There's scarce a chance that anything remains today. Even that bracelet I found was hardly anything more than a valuable knick-knack. But even if I don't find any real artifacts, I will continue my search, in the name of science. I see. So, you're going to write a book about us? Oh, we're well beyond that. I've already started. Your comrades from the Varnling Host already gave me all the background I'll need to flesh out the first few chapters. I'm still thinking of a title, but the chapter about your encounter with centaurs near the City of Hollow Eyes will be called Ripples on the Water. Poetic, relevant to the location, and it foreshadows mysterious events to come. I heard that Jubilost Narthropple was visiting your western neighbors. I don't know anyone who still attends his lectures or reads his articles. The obnoxious gnome can never manage to do without making sarcastic jokes at the expense of his own audience. But never mind. How unfair would it be if a well-known publicist showed interest in one newborn barony while leaving its neighbors, our sweet and slightly wild Varnhold, out in the cold? Do you see now how lucky you are that Willis Gunderson himself has paid Varnhold a visit? What? Jubilost Narthropple himself? In our lands? Willis exhales in indignation, then stares at the floor. This was rude, my good lord. You might at least have pretended to be just as impressed by me as by him. But fine, as you please. Willis Gunderson has yet to show what he is worth. Sorry? And what kind of character will I be in your book? You will be the assistant to the main character, Baron Varn. But don't despair. Usually supporting characters are loved all the more, and they get into all sorts of fun that a main character simply couldn't be forgiven for. You know what, Retcon? I think you'll make the most charming character in the book, and after its smashing success, they'll be begging me for more. Perhaps I'll make you the main character in the series. Retcon is a main character. Don't be ridiculous. Alright, well... Don't you have any other questions? Have you seen that Galton troublemaker, the one who started the uprising in the city? Indeed I have. I was just telling my friends here about that touching sign of friendship and affection that Baron Varn showed to me, when those troublemakers came in with their silly talk. I had to spend a few minutes explaining to the lady how ridiculous her messages are, and how disgusting it is how she expresses them. That told her. So then the troublemaker ran out of the tavern. She's not going to risk crossing paths with me again. I suspect she's on her way back to Galt. Willis toys with a strand of his hair, and smiles cheekily. Thank you for the conversation. I have to go. Goodbye, my lord. Oh, hey, we got a level up. And it looks like that's the end of our investigation into Willis Gunderson. I guess that just leaves talking to the tavern keeper. Might need to take a break in a moment, though. All this dialogue is wearing on my throat. Oh, we almost missed this thing. Valor and Honor, 10 Adventures of the Splendid Willis Gunderson in Absalom. Well, that's certainly worth a look. Table of Contents. From the author, page 2. Prologue, page 36. Adventure 1, The Fearless Rescue of a Lone, Tempting Beauty, page 40. Adventure 2, Visiting the Beauty, page 117. Skillful Illustrations, page 300 to 320. Adventure 3, Running from the Beauty's Enraged Spouse, page 321. Adventure 4, Hiding in the Catacomb, page 440. Adventure 5, In the Corner of the Tavern, page 500. Some recipes of food and drinks studied by the author during his attempt to hide in the tavern, page 580 to 660. Adventure 6, Seeking Rescue Among Artists of the Traveling Circus, page 661. Adventure 7, In the Tiger's Cage, page 715. Adventure 8, Running from Tigers, page 750. Adventure 9, Failing to Escape Tigers, page 914. Adventure 10, Salvation from Tigers by the Servants of the Beauty's Spouse, Reunion with the Beauty, A Long Conversation about Valor and Honor, A Proper Farewell, page 960. Epilogue, page 1200. The Author's Parting Words, page 1317. A page for the author's autograph, in case you are lucky enough to meet him, page 1500. You know what? Willis might be a slimy con man, but I think I like him. In fact, let's see if we can get him to sign this book. It is a travesty that they didn't include that as an option. Oh well. General, welcome. What'll you have? How did you end up in Varnhold? We used to have a tavern in Galt. Ha! And then one day we didn't. They confiscated it for the needs of the revolution. But I suppose we should be grateful they let us go alive. They might have finished us off as oppressors and exploiters. Luckily, they were too busy enacting revolutionary justice in our wine cellar, and we managed to sneak away. The scumbags took everything we had, except our common sense. Well, we broke our backs for a few years to scrounge up enough to open a new venue. We heard about this new barony, the new town, so we came here. And it's quite a gold mine. The town is growing. There are more and more people, and all of them need to eat and drink. If Desna wills it, we'll be rich. I've heard reports that a troublemaker from Galt was seen here. Yes, that scumbag. We've seen a lot like her. She wandered in here talking about tyranny and justice, when really she was just looking for something to steal. She came in with a small group. I think they were from a farm that's near the town. They sat here for a long time, saying things that made me sick to hear. First, they were talking about Ignash the sorcerer, saying he was a bloodsucker, tricking the simple people. Then they talked about how to get into the armory and get some weapons. They decided they couldn't manage it, too many guards. But then they remembered there would be pitchforks and scythes in the barn. In the end, they started talking to people, trying to stir them up for a riot, but nobody would listen. I showed them to the door and sent word to the treasurer right away. I don't know where they went. I think they said something about fishermen on the river. Do something with her for Desna's sake. Kick her so hard she rolls back to Galt. Otherwise, she'll wind up some fools, and they'll burn down the whole town. We'll talk to the people, but you'd best go find out where she is and what she's doing. Yeah, I'd better go look into that. I have to go. Come back anytime. We'll save you a bottle of something worthy of a general. Okay, so that gives us a few leads we can follow up on. But first, we've got a few level ups to take care of. Now, Obviously, I haven't really studied our options here, but I did just refamiliarize ourselves with our build, so let's run through this real quick and I'll pick a few things off the cuff. Then you can give me feedback between episodes before I actually finalize any of this stuff. We'll try to make this quick. First up, we've got Retcon, who, of course, will continue being a monster tactician. He gets a few skill points. Those go in the usual places. Though, I think we'll put this last point into use magic device. He's never going to be very good at it, but I have had a few people point out that that will be important once we get towards the end of the DLC. Then we've got his feat, and I'm tempted to go with a basic combat feat, but I think we might actually be better off going with something more utilitarian, like persuasive. There are cases where he'll have to make persuasion checks on his own, and more perception is never a bad thing. Then we've got 3 spell slots to fill, starting with a first level spell slot. I'm tempted to grab Expeditious Retreat, but let's go with Bane instead. As for his first third level spell slots, we'll grab Cure Serious Wounds, of course. And then I think we'll go with something none of the other party members have access to. There are a few good options here, but let's go with Heroism. That's a pretty solid buff spell. And that's it for Retcon. Next up we've got Cephal, our Resident Evil Wizard. He gets another feat, of course. Skill points go in the usual places, no surprises there. Then we've got his feat, and he's a pretty straightforward battlecaster, so let's just go for spell penetration. We're sure to run into some targets with spell resistance. Next we've got his first 4th level spells, and this is where things start getting a little interesting. We obviously need a conjuration spell, and I think Acid Pit sounds pretty intriguing. That's one of the new spells they recently added in a free content update. Aside from that, we'll go with something a little more conventional. Let's grab Controlled Fireball. That's basically a standard fireball that's a little safer to use around the rest of the party. Next we've got Brother Olaf, who's not ready to level up yet. That's fine, we'll jump over to Magar instead. That nets him another feat and improves his sneak attack damage. Always welcome. Skill points go into Thief skills. What a surprise. Then we've got his feed and... You know what? He's got a pretty good intelligence, so let's grab combat expertise. He is a little squishy in combat, so the extra defense will really help him out. Next we've got Arengale, who's already split between Druid and Monk. Another level of Monk would give her evasion and an extra bonus feat, but I really don't want to dilute her Druid powers any more than we already have. We'll stick with Druid. That'll give her some more spell slots, a bonus feat, and the ability to shapeshift into a leopard or elemental, though we'll probably stick with Wolf. Next we've got her skills. Those go in the usual spots. And then we get a feat. In this case, I think we have to go with Crane Wing. That's a whopping +4 dodge bonus against melee attacks, so that's kind of a no-brainer. In fact, we'll probably be grabbing that for Avaros as well. Speaking of which, we've got Averos. And this is where things start getting complicated. We've got no shortage of options here. We could go with a level of Paladin, which would give him more Paladin utility. Channeling would be pretty nice, but we don't really have a shortage of healing abilities. Or we could go with Aldori Defender, which would grant him the Parry ability, a small but fairly notable defensive bonus. Or we could do what we just considered with Arengale, which is give him another level of Monk. That would give him Evasion and a bonus feat. Yeah, I think that actually sounds pretty good. That gives him 3 skill points to play with. We'll put 1 in Persuasion and dump the other 2 in Trickery. It actually is important in this particular DLC. And now we get 2 feats, and the first one will obviously be Crane Wing. That just leaves his Monk feat. I'll admit, this list is a little sparser than I was expecting. I guess we'll go with Blind Fighting. It's not the most exciting feat, but it can be very useful under certain circumstances. Now we just have to set those new spell slots. That's some more magic missiles for Cephal. And an acid pit with a couple of controlled fireballs on the side. Oh, wow, I forgot I front-loaded Brother Olaf with Bane spells. I might have to go back and change what we just gave Retcon. Let's give Arengale another Sickening Entanglement. And I'm not really sure what I want to do with her new 3rd level slots. I thought Mass Feather Step would let us bypass the penalties of entanglement, but it obviously doesn't work that way. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to do some actual research on this one, although suggestions are welcome as usual. In fact, we're already pushing the 40-minute mark, so let's just hit the pause button here. I'll give you guys about a week to give me some feedback on the level ups, and we'll pick up here next time as we continue our investigation into the Gault Revolutionary. See you then. Oh, and remember, although I do love playing Pathfinder Kingmaker, you can find out more about the game by visiting the official website, the official YouTube channel, the official Discord server, the official Facebook page, the official Twitter feed, the fan-run wiki, or the original crowdfunding campaign over on Kickstarter. Links are in the description.